Hello, legacy builders. Welcome to another episode of the Legacy Pregame Podcast. I am Marcella Mollon-Williams, behavioral financial advisor, mindset coach, and legacy strategist for first generation legacy wealth builders.
And I am your co-host, Mark Mollon, investment advisor, legacy strategist, and together we are your legacy building duo, guiding first-gen income earners like you from wealth creation to generational impact, one intentional move at a time. And today, we're diving into a hot topic that affects just about everyone that's scrolling on your phone or on your computer. We are talking about wealth porn. Now, before you start laughing at that name, let me be clear. Number one, Marcella, you set me up. Okay. So you set me up. Usually introduce the topic, but you had me do it this time. All right. So I want to be very clear with everyone. It's not what you think. Okay. But it is a subject matter. So Marcella, let's dive in here with clarity.
Yes. Yes, let me explain what it is. Thank you, Mark. Yes, I did set you up. I could not resist.
I'm in trouble over here.
I know. You're like, what? Okay. Yes. Okay, listeners, let me explain what is wealth porn. Today, we are talking about that flashy, luxury driven content we see online and on television. And I think you know what I'm talking about. The dream vacations, the designer bags, the Lamborghini parked outside of the beautiful villa in Dubai. It's everywhere. And I don't know about your social media feed and your television, but I can't escape it.
Oh, definitely on the same boat. Yes. Yes.
Yes. So that's why we're bringing this up today, because this is not just entertainment. This is very intentional. It is a marketing strategy. Brands and influencers use wealth porn as a hook for you to really draw you in emotionally and to make you aspire and to make you buy things. That is the point. So yes, especially brands, corporations, they spend a lot of money hiring
Millions.
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 Thank you, Mark, for this really specify millions of dollars. They hire neuroscientists. They hire people that will teach them and show them how to sell to you, how to trigger you so that you can make purchases. So yes, today we are spilling the tea. We are letting the cat out the bag. We are saying the quiet parts out loud because we want you to know what's going on so that you can have control over your purchasing power.
You're saying it right there, Marcella. And for our listeners here that are, you're the first gen, making 6, 7, 8 figures. You worked hard. For many of you, you've broken barriers and you've really made a difference. And this is where there could be a problem, because with wealth porn, it's consistently whispering in your ear. As Marcella mentioned, you're going through your phone and all of a sudden you see a flash of the glitz and the glamour. You see these nice things and they're telling you that you're not enough unless you're showing it off. They're projecting this onto you, and it's a danger that you have to understand. It's twofold, right? So the first component is the external part of this, right? As we call it externally. It can lead you to overspending or making financial moves just for looks. Okay, we're going to dive into that a little bit more here, but let me just touch on this real quick. So we're talking about just that external response. Then you have the internal response, which is going to aid or fuel your anxiety, envy, the pressure, the pressure to measure your wealth with how much you can flex. And Marcel, I can tell you right now, that is not going to be anyone's alignment here who's listening or watching. This is not going to be alignment with your legacy.
Absolutely not, Mark. And I think if you are listening to this podcast, then you already know that this goes against everything that we teach here.
Mhm.
Legacy isn't just what you leave for people, just what you accumulate. It's how they experience your existence. So your worth isn't tied to a Gucci belt. It's tied to
Ooh,
so much more.
exactly. I mean, the financial industry that Marcel and I reside in, it's always focused heavily on the material assets, right? Just those things that are tangible. But that's what separates what Marcel and I do, because we have to understand that it's not just about that, right? That's a part of it. But Marcella, as you mentioned, it's also the experience you leave others through your existence. And I
That's
can
right.
tell you right now, I don't want my existence to be, oh, all I am is remembered as the person that drove a nice car. No, that's
Exactly.
that's not the kind of legacy I want to leave behind, right?
And
And
let
that's
me
what
add to that,
go
Mark. Oh,
ahead.
so
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. Finish.
No, no,
Let
no,
me
you
just
go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
just because I just wanna make sure that our listeners understand we're not
We're on
saying
the
that
same
there's
page.
anything wrong with having luxury, not having these things. No,
Exactly.
I like quality. I like certain luxury items. I think what we're really gonna get into today, Mark, is really
Yes.
behind the intention of why you
That's
purchase
the
these things,
difference.
especially for first gen wealth builders. So I really want you to listen in. Don't get distracted. Don't get discouraged thinking, oh, wait a minute, they're saying I can't have nice things. I like to have nice things. No, no, we're going to get a little deeper for you to really go into a bit of the psyche so you're clear on why you are purchasing these things. And again, whether they are impacting your legacy or not.
So Marcella, you just went right into the direction. Number one, I was going to say those exact same words. Okay, you just
Of
literally
course you
stole
are.
them out of my mouth.
Of
Okay,
course.
but that just aligns to where I'm going here because when we talk about the global luxury branding out there, there's a big boom in that industry, and let's be very clear, they are targeting you. Okay,
Mhm.
legacy builders, they are targeting you. You are vulnerable to their tactics, right? And that's why Marcel and I are having this conversation because there's research out there, right? So the research from Wall Street Journal, they show that the same pattern is applying even in real estate. So let me give you an example, right? You could take a high-end property and that property will sell faster when it's marketed to that lifestyle of exuberance of opulence, that visually you're seeing this property where it's aligned to this fantasy of champagne brunches overlooking the ocean or the city, and that will create that fantasy that people want. Oh, I want that fantasy. And to be
Absolutely.
clear, what I'm talking about is that marketing tactic to make you feel like you don't have enough or you have to prove yourself. That's where I have an issue, right? There's nothing wrong with Marcelo. You said this, right? There's nothing wrong with wanting quality as long as it aligns to your value and a purpose when it comes to your legacy. But what we're talking about here is how the manipulation to make you feel unwanted or unworthy or inadequate unless you have this, unless you have this name, unless you're driving this. If you're not, you're nothing. That's
Yeah.
where I have to stand and fight for my legacy builds because that's not what we're about.
No, that's so important to really emphasize. And again, we really hope you understand what we're saying here, because especially as it relates to social media, with what the statistics are showing, social media amplifies this message of unworthiness, or you need these type of things to have value or success or to show up or to flex, all these things. The algorithms on social media love excess. Okay, and I don't know if you're recognizing this or not, if you pay attention to that. When you think about posts that go viral, they're not necessarily the posts about someone paying off their debt. I subscribe to a lot of financial accounts. So yeah, I'm intentionally looking and subscribe to accounts where yeah, people are paying off their homes or people are paying off their debts. But that's not the thing that really catches the majority's attention. What it is the 23-year-old who's showing off their new Rolex and their G-Wagon.
Yep.
That's the kind of post that goes viral. Those are the images that stick in our subconscious minds, and they shape how we think about money, how money should look, how money should show up in our lives. That's what is that's what's really getting caught in there. That's where the money psychology comes in. Exposure to wealth porn activities, when you are exposed to that, parts of your brain are tied to desire and reward. So the
Mhm.
activities really trigger these parts of your brain that are tied to desire and reward. Dopamine surges. You've heard about the dopamine, and suddenly you're chasing the high of, if I had that, I'd feel successful. And you have to
Marcella,
understand, Mark, we gotta understand what's happening here because, again, just being aware, and Mark, I'm gonna let you come in. I just gotta add this one part.
go
I
ahead, go ahead.
Okay, we're talking about, again, awareness. I'm just gonna okay, so I'm gonna share my personal experience on social media because
Mhm.
I watched this one account, I think it's like called Love Luxury, right? Basically, I'm just watching people in Dubai and London buy Birkin bags, these 40,000 pounds because it's overseas, so it's about 40,000 pounds per bag, right? I have no desire for this. I actually don't have a desire to own one of these bags, but I enjoy watching people buy them. What's not happening is I don't feel the desire to have to own that. My value is not tied to that. So I can simply enjoy watching it because I like to hear the numbers. I like opulence. I like
Right.
luxury. And I like to hear how much they're going to get for it when they purchase it, when they sell their bags. I like to see the investment, the return on investment they get by selling their bags.
Mhm.
What is happening if you're not careful, you can watch the exact same account that I'm watching, and every time you watch it, it's fueling your desire to own one. Because when I read the comments, I am clearly seeing that people's desire to own this bag is being fueled, and the ownership is not coming from a place of intention of, oh, I just like this, I want this for me as an investment. I'm sure some people are, but what I'm seeing through the comments is these
Mhm.
intentional psychological efforts to feel better about yourself by owning this bag. Does that make sense?
Marcella, what you're talking about is that trap. That's exactly what you're talking about, the trap. And the difference is understanding your values and who you are, understanding your value, not the exterior forces that would define your values, but your own internal values. That's why you can see it one way compared to everybody else that's you're seeing in the comment. That is so important not to fall for that trap. Because as Marcella mentioned, you talked about the dopamine. Well, that fades over time. And just like a dopamine hits, you're left needing that next purchase, that next status symbol to get that high again. And again, I want to talk specifically to my legacy builders, my first gen earners. This is so dangerous because you're already carrying an inherited money script in your mind. That could be like scarcity, coming from people pleasing, coming from proving yourself. These scripts that you tell yourselves, this is what these marketings are hoping they can tap into to get your hard earned money to say, you're not good enough unless you have too much. You're not good enough unless you're pleasing everyone. You're not good enough until that name across your chest makes you feel good. That you need these exterior forces to define your success, your happiness. And Marcella, we're going to bind that up right now. It's like, no,
I,
we're not doing that. No,
I,
because our legacy depends on who we are today. Our legacy, our children's children are going to be grounded on the foundation that we have our values and no external forces is going to corrupt that because our generations need to experience who we are, and who we are should not
Mhm.
be tied to an item, right? That can change with fashion, that can change over the years, that can change in value. No, our values, who we are, that doesn't change, right?
Yes,
So we have to be very
absolutely.
clear with that. As builders, we want to be very clear who we are and not allow external forces to define who you are.
You nailed it, Mark. You really nailed it. You got me so excited there. I just
I
that
see you. I was trying to calm you down. So, okay, let me
I
talk
know.
level here.
I was like, okay, okay,
Because we
because
both
I
going to
just
be going on. But it's so
it
important, right?
it is, because I mean, we see this play out in real life, and
Yeah.
because of the type of financial coaches that we are, and this very unique and special area that we specialize in, we see the psychological impact that leads to the financial impact long term,
Mhm.
and it starts somewhere. And this is one of those places. This was one of those seeds, those subtle seeds that most people aren't aware of, which is why and no and people don't really want to talk about, again, for various reasons, whether it's blame or thinking that you're told that you can't have these things, which again we're emphasizing. We're not saying you should not own or enjoy luxury and have nice things. We're talking
Exactly,
about the intention behind them. So going back
exactly.
to what you were saying with first gens, we have to and those money scripts, and I'm so glad you brought up the money scripts and the messages and the stories that we tell ourselves that are inherited from generation to generation, because what we don't realize is that wealth porn feeds these old money wounds. These are
Mhm.
money wounds. And instead of using your money as a tool for freedom and legacy, which most of us desire, especially if you're listening to this podcast, most humans desire freedom, and legacy is something that we know our legacy builders desire in addition to that. But it's instead of money fueling these things or a tool for these two things, it becomes a performance for the outside world. And that is where we can stay stuck. Whenever you are using money to accommodate the external factors that are not relevant to your internal values, to your internal purpose, then you are setting yourself up to fall short of your legacy goals. That's a point blank period.
Mhm.
So I guess that's where we are with that. So, Mark, again, we start off, this is what the issue is. This is how it
Mhm.
impacts you. Now, what can we do about it? And it always goes
Just we're
back to
going
the
to the
legacy
framework,
framework.
right?
That's
Go back
right.
to the framework.
Go
Yes.
back to the framework. That's why we created this legacy pregame framework to give you the tools that you need to really break it down. Ask yourself the right questions. And again, you can reference your legacy clarity workbook. Each of the steps of the framework are there. So in relation to wealth porn, let's look at the framework and see the questions to ask yourself as you make sure that you are purchasing with the right intention, right?
Mhm.
So let's start with legacy lens. That's L. Ask yourself, is my vision of legacy shaped by Instagram or by my values?
Mhm.
It really is that simple. That's a question that will allow you to break through another layer, and be intentional when you're on Instagram, when the ads pop up, when the images pop up. Wait a minute, is this interfering with my legacy lens, or am I sticking with my values? Then we have E, emotional mastery, because that's where the trigger is happening.
Yep.
We want you to notice and pay attention to the triggers. Do you feel less than when you see luxury content? Are is are you feeling like you need that luxury item or thing to make you feel more valuable? That is a huge clue. And Mark, I just have to bring up an example, and it's not necessarily a
Yes.
luxury thing, but this was something I had to do that I noticed triggers when I was going through my fitness journey,
Mhm.
that led me to being a flexibility coach. I remember that I started comparing myself to other very flexible people. I would follow all these accounts, and as I'm going through my challenge, and for those who don't know, my flexibility story, you'll know about it, and I can direct you to it. But it was a challenging journey. It was 21 months, and in the meantime, I had to stay encouraged and motivated. And I noticed I was being discouraged. I was being triggered by people who seemed to be in a place that I felt like I was never going to get to. I had to notice my triggers and do something about it. And I'll get back to what I had to do about that a little later. So just that emotional mastery. Notice your triggers when you're seeing these things online. And then G is generational goals. Paying attention to your generational goals. Are you investing in your generational goals, or just short term flexes? So are
Mhm.
you just putting your money towards the short term items that make you feel like you're extra special, instead of the generational goals that are actually special?
Exactly.
So
You
I'll
know,
let you take over from here, Mark.
I want to add something here because it's funny how you brought up your flexibility course that you were doing. I didn't realize it was that long, but I wasn't in it. It just seemed like, oh, you're done already, you know. But I didn't realize it was almost 2 years. So,
2 years to get that full split challenge. That was the
oh, the
21
full.
months,
Okay,
the full
got it,
split
got
challenge.
it.
Yes, yes.
But you said something that was so relevant because yes, we're talking financial, but again, it's how it applies to every area in our life. And I had a similar situation. For those who don't know, I'm an avid cyclist, both road
Mhm.
and mountain bike. I love them both. And I won't go into details, but I just noticed that I enjoy riding because it's part of my freedom. I just enjoy
Mhm.
doing it. Yes, it's healthy and it's great, but I don't do it for the health. I just love doing it, right? So, but I realized there was this one moment that it shift from me riding and recording my rides from my own personal record to recording my rides to get the the likes, or in the software that I use, the kudos, right? But it's just basically thumbs ups. And I realized I was starting to get more focus, not obsessed, but more focus on the likes than the ride. And when I noticed that shift, I was like, oh, I got to stop, because
Mhm.
why am I doing this? What is my purpose? Well, my value is freedom. The likes have nothing to do with my freedom. That has to do with my emotion. And that's not why I'm writing. I'm writing to fulfill my value. My value is freedom. So I had to kind of pull back from the app that was recording my rides. I'm still recording it, but no longer publishing those rides, so that I can just focus on the ride and not how many
Yeah.
people are going to like my
Yeah.
ride.
And not the
You know,
dopamine hits. Those were dopamine
right.
hits. Yeah.
Exactly. But it was, yeah, but it was going against my value. It was not giving me
Exactly.
freedom, because now I was becoming a slave to my likes. So it's the
Mhm.
opposite of my value. My value is I'm going to ride when I want to ride. I'm going to do what I want to do. And I don't care what anyone thinks. And I shifted
Mhm.
that. I was giving that up to, oh, let me see how many likes I can get on this ride. Oh, I have to do more to get more rides. I have to say more. I have to dress, all these different things, which was now making me a slave and not the owner of my ride. So that was a great example you said, and I just wanted to add that there.
Mhm.
So what did I end up doing? I did an alignment audit, right? So that's the A in legacy. So I created an alignment audit to make sure that in my case, my actions were aligned to my value. To go further, does your spending match the legacy you claim you want? As a legacy builder, we know why you're here. You want to create that legacy. So the action is, or the question is, does your spending align to the legacy you claim you want? Then we have the letter C, capital strategy. Is your money working for you, or are you working for the gram? Right? Again, who's the master? Who's the slave? I can tell you right now, Instagram is not going
Mhm.
to be my master.
Absolutely
You
not.
know, that's not my plan. No. And then we have the why, your next move. Choose one step today that aligns with your legacy, not your likes. Hint, hint, right? I had this one right here resonates for me, right? Because I was aligning things to the likes when it came to my writing, not the legacy I want to leave for myself with this health and freedom. I was working against that. So
Mhm.
Marcella, as we say here, the framework is so important because it can be a reset. It can
Yeah.
help you see that every dollar is either building your freedom or it's spending towards the fantasy that you're always chasing. All right.
Yeah.
So that's a big difference there. That's a big difference.
Yeah, that's so good, and I think the way you broke that down and brought that example was just, like, you just nailed it. But I also have to laugh because feel like we're telling our age because we keep bringing up Instagram and not TikTok. So,
Oh, well, yeah, I'm going to bring up my age because I'm like, no.
I know, you're like, "I don't know what's going on TikTok." You're not on TikTok. I am on TikTok as well, but I'm barely there. Yes, well, porn is on TikTok just as much as Instagram, but I don't know because 'cause
Exactly.
I'm not on there enough. So with that said, Mark, let's jump into our pregame practice. Again,
Yes.
something that you can work towards. Really, let's look at this pregame practice as some steps you could take to detox from wealth porn. All right, so let's start with step one is to audit your feed. I want you to spend 10 minutes today unfollowing accounts that trigger comparison or pressure to perform.
Hmm.
Pressure, like Mark was saying, pressure for the likes, pressure to show up a certain way or to buy things. Spend 10 minutes to unfollow those accounts. And I was talking about the challenge I had with when I was going through my flexibility journey and that comparison that was going on with me. And this is exactly what I did. I went and started unfollowing accounts that were triggering comparison. They weren't helping, they were hurting. And once I did, it made it so much better for me to stay focused and motivated to accomplish the goal. So that's the first thing. Audit your feed. And then from there, replace with inspiration. So I want you to follow accounts that talk about financial wisdom, um, family, health, and purpose. And I'm targeting those specifically because, Mark and I are about, the holistic approach. See the 4 dots on Mark's wall: family, fitness, finance, faith. It's a holistic approach. So we could just say follow accounts that talk about financial wisdom and budgeting and debt and elimination. But no, 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 no. We are building a legacy here. So it has to be all about, again, finance and family and fitness and faith,
Mhm.
and purpose. So replace with inspiration. That's two.
Now,
Three,
Marcella, before you
oh,
go
go
into
ahead.
three, I want to
Uh-huh.
add there, as you were talking, I couldn't help but to think the in doing that second step, how you will notice the difference in language between the that the media outlets that are showing you the glitz and the glamour, listening to that language versus the language of family, the language of health, the language of purpose. I believe that you will see a distinct difference between the two, and it's going to be game changing. That's just my thought.
No, I like that you said that because, and you have to add and subtract, and that will filter things out. So when I'm
Yes.
because of what I do again as also a certified flexibility coach, I deal with health and nutrition for the purpose of flexibility. And one of the things that I teach about is adding to your diet before eliminating. Now I know we talk about eliminating first, but that's okay. You could do that as well. Like you could work at both. But what based on a point that you just made, why it's so important is because your taste buds start to change when you add certain foods. And you no longer even desire some of the items you used to eat.
Hmm.
And it's the same thing in this case when you replace it with inspiration. You start listening and subscribing to accounts that talk about the things that fill your legacy.
Hmm.
Then you're not even going to want to spend the time, or you're going to notice a difference in the language. And this might be a bit of a turnoff. The flexing might start to annoy you.
Yes.
Um, and
Yeah.
with these other accounts, because
Yeah.
you're more purposeful and intentional with your time and your efforts and your energy at this point. So great point, Mark. I just wanted to add to that from a health perspective.
No, good. I'm glad. So you were on number three.
Yes, the third pregame practice is reframe in real life. So the next time you feel the urge to buy for the purpose of flexing, pause and ask yourself, does this align with my legacy lens, my long-term vision, what I'm actually striving for and what I actually care about for generations to come?
Exactly. So
Does this
it's
matter?
but
Mhm.
so to be very clear here, it's not about, not or never enjoying luxury. That's
Yes.
not what we're talking about. We want to be very clear. It's about making sure your luxury serves your life,
Mhm.
and it's not the other way around. So again, as I stated
Yeah,
before, are you the master or are you the servant? That's what we want to be very clear. And as a legacy builder, you should be the master. That's the whole point,
absolutely.
because you're setting precedents today for generations. So you have to be the master. And that starts today, understanding how these outside forces, how these outside resources, how these outside companies are trying to make you the servant, trying to make you a slave. Yes, it looks good. Yes, it flosses. Yes, it shines, but it could be very deceptive and it could destroy your legacy. So,
That's right. And again, it's not an attack on those individuals. If you happen to stumble across this account and you are someone that is selling a program and therefore you are flexing on your account, hey, do you? And that's
mhm,
okay. What we're focused on is the intention of the ones watching and making sure
exactly,
that we are equipping you, legacy builders, so that you can look at something like that and say, good for them. And
exactly.
carry on. Celebrate the successes of others, their luxurious lifestyles. Wonderful. I have lots of friends and family who's they flex online, and that's okay with it. I don't dislike it. I don't judge it. I don't hate it. But for me and for our legacy builders and Mark, we are intentional about what we're watching and what we see, what we're paying attention to, and the message and the story that it is telling us. Because at the end of the day, wealth porn is designed to sell you a story. That's what it's there for. But your real legacy isn't about the story others see online. It has nothing to do with that. It's about the life that your family and your community experience because of the choices you made and the
Mm.
choices that you will make. That's where the real story is.
And that's why we're here, right? To remind you that wealth is a tool, right? Not a trophy. So we allow our wealth to help create the experience that we want generations to have, a part of our existence, right? But it's
Mhm.
not a trophy. So let's be
That's good.
very clear with that, Marcel. We can so go on with this topic, man, because this thing's so resonating with me. It's
Yeah.
something we see so often, and if I can add to it as well,
Mhm.
one of the things that I'm very honored and blessed to see is that we have a lot of legacy builders that are aware of this. They need our coaching, but they understand. Wait a minute, something is wrong here. I can't put my finger on it, but something is wrong, and that's why we're having this conversation to understand that. Yeah, you're correct. Something is wrong for those that are aware. Yes, something is wrong. Yes, you're being attacked. Okay,
Oh, that's such a
it
good
looks
point,
nice.
Mark.
You're being attacked. Yes.
Yeah, that is such a good point because yes, many of you do realize that there's a struggle to stay on track.
Hmm.
And that is why we bring this information, so you can understand where the source of the struggle is coming from,
Yes.
where the source is of some of these
Yes.
struggles. It's not just one thing. And we hope that these episodes continue to give you more understanding about the world around you, about yourself, and understand again the need and the importance of having professionals like ourselves to support you, that you don't have to DIY this thing, that you can
Exactly.
save so much time, money, and effort and heartache and lack of peace when you do have the proper guides to help you transform your life into a powerful legacy. So, if this episode resonated with you, please share it with another legacy builder just like you, and just allow yourself to come back and listen to it a couple times, listen to it as often as you need to fuel your subconscious mind. And we want to just make sure that this is a needed reminder to you, your community, your family members, so please share it.
Exactly. And if you haven't done so already, don't forget to subscribe to Legacy Pregame Podcast. So you never miss a conversation that can shift your legacy.
And until next time, legacy builders, live well, build wisely,
And prepare with purpose.